MAGA Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, a Russian oligarch, and Jeffrey Epstein. You see, MAGA Mike Johnson, in his desperation to try to cover up Donald Trump's very dark past, may have inadvertently incriminated Donald Trump regarding a real estate transaction with a Russian oligarch from 2004. And this ties in with our exclusive reporting here on the MeidasTouch network with Michael Wolff, Jeffrey Epstein's almost biographer. He has about 100 hours of tape of Jeffrey Epstein. And Michael Wolff, as you know, was Donald Trump's former biographer. He wrote multiple books about Donald Trump. Now, Michael Wolff told us on the MeidasTouch network, you may remember the video, that Jeffrey Epstein suspected that after Donald Trump basically stole a real estate deal that Epstein was asking Donald Trump just for a little advice on, and Epstein then threatened to sue Donald Trump, and Epstein may have said that he would expose Donald Trump's relationship with a Russian oligarch. Only then did Donald Trump inform prosecutors or potentially the police about Epstein's relationship with underage girls, because Donald Trump would hang out with Epstein all the time and knew what Epstein would do, because Donald Trump would hang out with him when a lot of that conduct was taking place. Donald Trump being a confidential informant based on his relationship with Epstein was something that Epstein suspected. Donald Trump's not the good guy in the story who helped expose Epstein out of the goodness of his heart. What Epstein thought went down, and I'm going to show you what Michael Wolff said and how this relates to what MAGA Mike Johnson said, was that because Donald Trump's involvement around Epstein, Trump knew what was taking place, and to try to save himself, threw Epstein under the bus before Epstein could incriminate Donald Trump based on this real estate transaction with a Russian oligarch that was very, very shady. So as you think, what could be in these Epstein files? Let's tie it all together, folks. Remember, I interviewed Spencer Kuvin this week, the lawyer for the first Epstein victims, who has since settled all of his cases. And he says what he suspects are in the files: everything relating to the 2007-2008 non-prosecution agreement, the criminal investigation of Epstein that took place at that time. Is there going to be documents and information about Donald Trump's role in all of that, and later on as well? Let's tie the pieces together right now, shall we? So on Friday, MAGA Mike Johnson, again, in his desperation to cover up for Donald Trump, MAGA Mike Johnson goes, "We all know that Donald Trump was the informant who told on Jeffrey Epstein to the FBI." MAGA Mike? The only person who said that Trump may have been an informant in the role of a very kind of sinister, almost potentially culpable informant was Michael Wolff. So where are you getting your information, MAGA Mike? Here's what MAGA Mike Johnson had to say. Let's play this clip.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
And by the way, a day or two before that, Republican Congresswoman, a MAGA, Nancy Mace says, quote, she's not worried about crossing Donald Trump on Epstein because Donald Trump is the one who banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant and he talked to the feds to get this guy turned over. So Donald Trump is a hero in this. Well, if Donald Trump was the hero in this, don't you think that Donald Trump would want it turned over? He would want to release the files to show that he's the hero. And Donald Trump brags about everything, mostly all lies, pretty much all lies. If he was the hero in all of the Epstein ordeal, why is he hiding the files? Why is he demanding the DOJ and FBI redact and cover up his involvement? We saw that reporting from that O'Keefe guy where he got one of the top deputy DOJ FBI people who said, no, we're going to cover up all of the Republican names and all of Trump's involvement in the Epstein files when he thought he was going out on a date with somebody on the dating app Hinge. So wouldn't Donald Trump just say, yeah, hell yeah, I banned the guy, I'm the hero in the story? Instead, what Donald Trump's been saying is that he was upset that Epstein stole the girls from him, from the spa, like Virginia Giuffre back in 2000. But then in 2002, Donald Trump says Epstein's a great guy who likes the women on the younger side, and Trump continued to hang out and party with Epstein thereafter. And by party, I think you know what I mean. He would invite girls of indeterminate age and tell them they were getting modeling jobs to go to Mar-a-Lago, but when they would show up, it would just be Donald Trump and Epstein. And MAGA Mike, if Donald Trump was the informant, is he the informant in a Democratic hoax? Because Donald Trump posted on Friday, once again, that everything relating to Epstein is one gigantic Democratic hoax. So MAGA Mike and Nancy Mace, your story's not really making all that much sense because Donald Trump's saying it's all a hoax. Donald Trump's post on Friday to try to distract from the horrible economy. You know it's bad when Trump's distracting from the economy by bringing up Epstein, but the web of lies he's weaving, oh, I enjoy unweaving that web and exposing it for all of you. So Trump goes, the confused and badly failing Democratic Party did nothing about Jeffrey Epstein while he was alive except befriend him, socialize with him, travel to his island, and take his money. They knew everything there was to know about Epstein, but now, years after his death, they out of nowhere are seeming to show such love and heartfelt concern for his victims. Does anybody really believe that? Where were they during his very public trials? And for all of those years before his death, the answer is nowhere to be found. The now dying, after the DOJ gave thousands of pages of documents in full compliance with a very comprehensive and exacting subpoena from Congress, Epstein case was only brought back to life by the radical left Democrats because they are doing so poorly with the lowest polling ever. Actually, in all of the generic polling, they're kicking the Republicans' ass in the generic congressional polling, which is why you want to rig the midterms, but I digress. Then Donald Trump goes on to say, this is merely another Democrat hoax like Russia, 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 and all the others. Notable, he's mentioning Russia, Russia, Russia. I'm going to tie in the Russian oligarch part here in a moment. And then Donald Trump goes, the Department of Justice has done its job. They have given everything requested of them. It's time to end the Democrat Epstein hoax and give the Republicans credit for the great, even legendary job they are doing. Make America great again. So MAGA Mike, he was the informant in a great hoax. Also, if Donald Trump says that all of the DOJ documents were turned over, which we know were all old documents and not actually the Epstein files, but let's assume Donald Trump says everything was turned over. I don't see anything in those files, MAGA Mike, that says that Donald Trump was the hero informant. What if he was the bad guy who informed for further bad reasons because of his involvement, and that's what's in the files? I'm giving you my opinion. I'm speculating. I want to be clear about that, but let's tie in the data points here.
You know Ridge, they make those amazing wallets that my brothers and I are just obsessed with. They're doing their legendary sweepstakes for the 5th time, and this time it's insane. 2 lucky winners will get to choose between a $300,000 Lamborghini Hurricane Storado, a $150,000 Hennessy Velociraptor, or $100,000 in cash. I mean, look, if it were up to me, I'd probably take the cash, but those cars are pretty dang sweet. Have you ever driven a sports car? What car do you currently drive? There's only 1,500 Lamborghini Hurricane Storados that exist, and Ridge is giving you the chance to own one. This Lambo is the world's first off-road supercar. It's a naturally aspirated V10 and has 610 horsepower. Can you imagine driving this thing around town? The Hennessy Velociraptor also has an insane 558 horsepower twin turbo. It's basically an American muscle car put into an all-terrain truck. There's no reason not to enter. You can enter completely for free at ridge.com, so why not take your shot? And if you want to boost your odds, every dollar you spend on Ridge's site gets you 1 additional entry. So grab a Ridge wallet, power bank, phone case, whatever you need, and rack up those entries. With over 50 colors and styles, Ridge Wallet isn't just functional, it's personal. Whether you want sleek black, forged carbon fiber, a wallet that features your favorite NFL team, or one that just matches your vibe, they got you covered. Ready to upgrade your wallet and maybe your ride? For a limited time only, head to ridge.com and use code Meidas at checkout for 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstake ever: a Lamborghini Hurricane Storado, a Hennessy Velociraptor, or $100,000 in cash. No purchase necessary to enter, but every dollar you spend gets you more entries. That's ridge.com and use Meidas. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you.
Now let's bring in the $95 million mansion sale that took place in West Palm Beach. You see that mansion right there? A guy by the name of Dmitry Rybolev, a Russian oligarch who made his billions in the fertilizer industry, purchased this home right here from Donald Trump for about Donald Trump purchased that house in 2004 for about $41 million from another buyer. Dmitry Rybolev, 4 years later, purchased that home for Donald Trump for $95 million. So just to be clear, Trump purchased it in 2004 for $41 million. And as Donald Trump said at the time in 2008, I bought it for $41 million, put in $3 million worth of paint, and then sold it 4 years later for $95 million. That's a fairly suspicious deal. Donald Trump purportedly bought it, $41 million, from a guy named Abe Gossman in 2004. Now, how does this relate to Jeffrey Epstein? Well, Donald Trump and Epstein were best friends in 2004. Epstein wanted to buy that home. He knew Trump was a real estate developer, so he was asking Donald Trump for advice about what to do with the pool to help increase its value. Then Epstein found out a few months later where Epstein was going to buy it for $36 million from that guy, Abe Gossman, that Trump bought it for $41 million when Epstein trusted Trump just to give him some advice. Epstein suspected that Trump didn't have that amount of money in cash at the time to make the purchase. So Epstein was very suspicious in the first place where Trump was getting that money from. And he was wondering, we don't know, but this is what Epstein wondered. I'm being clear, I'm just not giving you my opinion. This is what Epstein told Wolf. Was it possible that Trump got that money from Russians or from some other source as part of a way to bring money into the United States, and then Trump purchased it and then sold it later to bring more money into the United States? Because the price going up by 2x or 3x in 4 years with just a paint job is very suspicious. And this Russian oligarch who would have clear ties to the highest level of the KGB, and yes, Donald, Russia, raises some suspicion. Significant suspicion. And do you all know what Dmitry Rybolev did with the home? What'd you think he did with the home that he bought from $95 million that 4 years before was $41 million? Yeah, he demolished it right away and said he demolished it because there was mold in the home. Suspicious? Methinks a little bit suspicious, but let me take myself out of the story and let me bring in Michael Wolff, because Wolff spoke with Epstein about this transaction. So going back to what MAGA Mike is saying, is Donald Trump an informant? Epstein thought, based on his friendship with Donald Trump and what transpired because Epstein was getting ready to sue Donald Trump based on Trump screwing him over in the deal, that soured their being best friends because Epstein's like, crap, I just lost a $40 million deal that I could have done from my friend screwed me over. What the hell? So here's how Wolff describes what went down. Play this clip.
Now, Epstein's explanation for why this friendship ended is as follows. In 2004, Epstein believed himself to be the high bidder on a piece of real estate in Palm Beach, a house. $36 million was his bid. He took his friend Trump around to see the house to advise him on how to move the swimming pool. Trump thereupon went around Epstein's back and bid $40 million for the house. and got the property. Epstein, who was well acquainted, in fact, deeply involved with Trump's scattered finances, understood that he didn't have $40 million to pay for this house. Now, if that was the case, it was someone else's $40 million. At the time, Epstein believed this to be the $40 million of a Russian oligarch by the name of Rybolev. Less than 2 years later, this same house that Trump had bought for $40 million was sold for $95 million. And it was, in fact, sold to Mr. Rybolev. This is all a red flag of money laundering. And what Epstein did, and he was furious about losing this house. I mean, there's something about these guys that nothing rouses them so much as a real estate betrayal. Epstein, after the sale of this house, after Trump went around his back, got this house, Epstein began to threaten him. He began to threaten him with lawsuits. He began to threaten him with going to the press and saying that Trump was a front man for a money laundering deal. Trump panics at this point, and Epstein believed, and he believed to his dying day, that it was Trump who went to the police, Trump who was fully acquainted with what was going on at Epstein's house, fully acquainted for many years. Trump went to the police and, as Epstein said, dropped the dime on him. That is to say, informed the police of what was going on, and an investigation began, and all of Epstein's legal problems for the next 15 years began to unfold. This story about this piece of real estate and their falling out was first published in June 2019. It's published actually in my book, Siege, the second book I had written about the Trump White House. Epstein had recounted this story to me. I put it in this book. Epstein at that moment was in Paris. He read the book. He called me with some alarm, and he said he was afraid that he might have said too much. 3 weeks later, he returned to the United States from Paris and was promptly arrested on the tarmac of Teterboro Airport in New Jersey when his plane landed.
Now, also, Epstein said the following about his relationship with Donald Trump, and according to Wolf, showed Wolf photos of Donald Trump hanging out with Epstein with these naked girls of indeterminate age, but who seemed very young. And Wolf said, "I've seen the pictures of these of girls. I'm not sure what their ages are. They look young," he says, with Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
At one point, after Trump had been elected, I was sitting talking to Epstein, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to show you something." And then he went into his safe, and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants. and the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing, covering
their mouths. And,
yeah, exactly. And pointing, 3 or 4 girls. And those are the ones I specifically remember. And my assumption is that they were in the safe, and I have seen them on other occasions take them out of the safe. And I think it's certainly not unlikely that they were in the safe when the FBI came in after his arrest and took everything from the house, including everything that was in the safe.
Okay, now, what kind of informant does this? Finally, I'll show you this clip of Donald Trump and Epstein. Here, play this clip.
Of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention. The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving bachelor lifestyle for an appearance on Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests, among them the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter.
Okay, so is MAGA Mike linking Donald Trump to a Russian oligarch suspicious thing when people are saying, what compromise does Putin potentially have on Donald Trump? Again, I don't know the answer, so I would purely be speculating. But a shady real estate deal involving Jeffrey Epstein from a fertilizer oligarch who demolished the building, that's something. And again, I don't know. I want to be clear. But you put these pieces together, and I think that there is something there to talk about. What you tell me what you think, everybody. And of course, I can go into all the other relationships, why Donald Trump was not the hero in the story, as Nancy Mace and MAGA Mike say, from Donald Trump saying Epstein's a great guy to all of the things that they did together. I outlined it in so many videos. Okay. So I don't need to spend another 20 minutes going over every single connection, and Trump inspecting the girls at the beauty pageants and saying without consent, or Trump saying that he likes to grab women by their genitals. When you're rich, you get away with it. And Trump saying, "You're the greatest person ever, Jeffrey." And there's so much, but you tell me what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
New Midas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.